Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial from the Minecraft Create mod, where today we are going to be taking a look at these nice little blueprints. And what is a blueprint, I hear you say? Well, first of all, they are very simple for us to craft. If we just have a little look in JEI, we can see that a blueprint is only going to cost us a crafting table and a painting, so they are certainly not expensive. And what they allow us to do is dramatically simplify crafting to make it much quicker and easier. Blueprints function much the same way that paintings do, so you'll find that if they've only got a small space, you'll just have one little square. They can fill up a 2x2, and then the biggest they can get up to is a 3x3, just like so. They're not able to go any larger than that. They couldn't fill up a 4x4, and they can't go to the 4x3 like the size of the largest painting. So that's as big as your blueprint is going to get. But how do these actually work? So if I come over to this little blueprint here and then I right click on it, it brings up the crafting blueprint interface that we can see. This is obviously looking like a standard crafting table, and we can input ingredients into here. So for example, let's say I came up with some planks. Let's have some of those. We'll have some oak planks and we'll pop them in. Oh, we can already see it's thinking about making buttons for us. And maybe to that we'll add on a shaft, for example. There we go, if you just add that on as well. So we can see it's now thinking about outputting a cogwheel. And what it'll do is it'll take whatever ingredients you have put into this blueprint and then show you what it's going to make, exactly the same as it would do in a crafting bench, so that when we say yes to this, there it is. We can see there's the little cog we were thinking about making, and it's telling us exactly what ingredients we would need in order to make this. And in all honesty, this is already a pretty useful trick that the blueprints can do. If you're anything like me and you don't find it very easy to remember recipes, then by having them easily on display like this, it just makes life a little bit easier for you. So I know that a large cogwheel is going to take a shaft and 2 planks. I know a large water wheel is going to take 8 planks and a normal water wheel, and so on and so forth for any recipe that you can make in a crafting table. And where this becomes supremely useful is that we are able to use this display to actually craft these items so long as we have them in our inventory. So let's say I wanted to make some nice large cogwheels. What I could do is I could go to somewhere on my world, wherever I've got these being made, and I'll go and collect myself some oak planks, and I'm also going to need to get myself some shafts as well, because I already know that's what's in the recipe, that's what it's showing me. And we can also see that now we have these items in our inventory, the interface has changed just slightly. So we can see there, if I'm hovering over the large water wheel, because I don't have any small water wheels in my inventory, it is still showing with a grey background and a yellow number, whereas the planks I do have, so it's got a white background and a white number. And that's the same going on, so we can see we've got plenty of ingredients to make each of these, just not the large water wheels. But if I do make one of these little water wheels, aha! Now we can make the large one as well. And that goes on for everything. So it'll be able to just create the items just by right-clicking them, so long as you have those ingredients in your inventory. Making the whole crafting process very much easier and much more streamlined. I've only had to pick up 2 things, and I haven't had to interact with a crafting bench. But these are relatively simple items. What if I want to make something just a tad more complicated? Let's say I've got a windmill project on the go at the moment and I want to make sails. So what I can do is I can come over to this blueprint. You can pick any of the empty slots. Let's go for the middle one, right click on it and open that interface, and let's find the ingredients for sails. So I'm pretty certain these sail blocks. So we're going to need a couple of sticks, we're going to need some andesite, and we're going to need a block of wool. Okay, that's easy enough, so we'll get some sticks. You don't have to use anything that's in your inventory. You can also use JI or the inventory, whichever one is easiest for yourself. You will notice that it doesn't actually take the item away, it just sort of slots it in like so, because we're just creating a recipe. But, okay, so I've got a wool farm, and here is the output of what my wool farm is making. So for now, we'll go with the pink wool that's in there. Brilliant, that's going to make us some sails. But, I kind of wanted it to use the blue wool as well as the pink wool as well. Whereas at the moment, if I make that sail, it's just going to run through the pink wool. It's not going through anything else, which is a little bit of a shame. Luckily, that's something that we can fix nice and easily. And in order to make any changes to recipes, you will sadly have to delete it before you're able to do so. Even if you've got an empty hand, if you try and right-click on that recipe even without the ingredients, you're not able to get back into it in order to change the interface again. You can go into the empty slots, but you can't go back into one once it's been created. To delete it though, simply left-click it instead, and you'll just have to start from the beginning. But back to our sail conundrum. So ultimately what we're looking to do here is we want to be able to tell the recipe to use 3 of these colours of wool, the blue, purple and the light blue, and leave out the white one for making any sails that we want. What we can do then is we can do that using a filter. So if we just come over to our items and we grab ourselves a filter, obviously make one if you're in survival, right click on the filter to open up its interface, we can then fill it up with each of the different colours of wool that we want the blueprint to be able to use. There we go, those are the 3 we want to be doing, leaving the white out. Then when we come back into our blueprint and start creating the recipe, we use the filter with the allowed list of wools instead of an individual colour of wool. And now it knows that all the different colours of wools in there can be used in the recipe. Build the rest up as usual. And one thing that you'll notice in this case is that it hasn't created a display slot just yet. You will need to put that in manually just to say, right, this is what you're making. I want you to make windmill sails with these blocks, even though you've got a filter in there, and it will understand that. Then when we click OK, there we go. So there is our little sail again, and it's telling us that it wants to be able to use blue wool. If I hop these around in my inventory and I say, okay, how about light blue first? When we hover over this again, you'll see that it's now saying, okay, I'll use the light blue instead. And if we right click on this, it will start making them for us. It'll whittle through all of the light blue wool, and then once it's done that, it'll go on to the dark blue. And once it's done that, it'll use up the purple, and you've noticed that we have skipped out the white because it wasn't used in the recipe, so now it's telling us you haven't got the wool I need in your inventory. And you'll also notice, displayed quite nicely just there, that it will tell you which of the colours it's looking for. So it's saying it wants, cycling through them, purple, blue and dark blue wool. If there was more colours in that inventory, in that filter list, then it would be going through all those as well. And it's not just wools for sails that this works with, that also includes all of the different wood types as well for these sorts of items as well. For example, if we then come over into JEI, let's find the recipe for something that uses wood. So let's just go to the cogs again and have a look in there. Anytime you bring up a recipe list like this, where you can see it cycling through different items that you can use, this is where you can use the filter, so that it can choose between birch, jungle and acacia planks if that's what you happen to have available to you at the time. This way, you're not having to come up to each of your items to make with always oak planks, oak planks, oak planks. It'll say, okay, I'll accept oak, acacia, spruce, whatever planks you happen to have available. Now, unfortunately, there is a little bit of a limitation to how that works, which is based on the fact that it wants to use the first item in your inventory first. So let's say, for example, I want to set up a recipe that makes it really easy for me to make stairs out of all of the different wood types I have. I happen to have spruce, oak and birch available to me. Well, I can come over to the blueprint and I can say, okay, that's going to be the recipe for stairs, using each of the different types of wood, and I can say, okay, into the display slot you go, I want you to make stairs for me. Brilliant. Now when I hover over that, it says, okay, I will make you 4 oak stairs using 6 oak planks. That's brilliant, but what if I wanted it to make birch stairs for me? Unfortunately, it's not going to. As soon as I right click on that, it's simply going to start making oak stairs. And it'll do so until it runs out of enough ingredients to make oak stairs. And now it's got even more of a problem because it can't actually make stairs with only 5 spruce planks. So it just says, nah, not doing that. I don't have the ingredients, despite the fact that I do have enough planks in my inventory. And that, sadly, is just a limitation of the system. This is all brilliant for making individual items, easy little crafting recipes, but it definitely does not replace auto-crafting in Create. It doesn't replace any of the automation at all, because you're still going to have to interact with things. It's not going to be able to put it together for you in the same way that, for example, if we go and pick out some stairs, a mechanical crafter could. That would just make up stairs for you. And another thing to note as well is that it's not good enough to have all of your ingredients available in a nearby chest. Even if you've got one stuffed full with oak planks and shafts, your blueprint will not be able to recognise that those are something that it can pick up. It's got to actually be in your inventory in order for this to work. Then of course though, you're able to store everything away nice and neatly, whatever it is that you've made, but you will need to have your supplies somewhere nearby. So again, as I say, this is not a way to replace automation. But while it's not going to be able to replace completely automatic crafting, one thing that you can do is if you have got an awful lot of items available to you, if you have got stacks and stacks and you want to make stacks and stacks, is if you hover over the item you want to make and then crouch, it will tell you the maximum that it's able to do so with what you've got in your inventory, and then with just one click it will make as many as it can. So in that case it's made up 16 mortar wheels for us rather than just one. But it did burn through every single one of the oak planks we had on us at the time. And so, while it doesn't replace automation, it certainly does make crafting just an awful lot easier. But despite those limitations, blueprints are still really useful to have in your world, if only because they streamline crafting so nicely, and let's be honest, they are super cheap to make. There's not really much excuse for not using them. Anywho though, I hope you've enjoyed this little video all about the Create Mod blueprint. Happy Minecrafting everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye!